Hello, everyone, and welcome into crushthestreet.com. I'm Kenneth Amaduri. Lots of craziness right now at the moment. In the markets right now, China has escalated their tariffs to $50 billion from $3 billion, and markets are being shaken. We've been talking about the everything bubble here at Crush the Street now for a while. And sometimes you just don't know where the pin is going to let the bubble the air out of the bubble. You don't know when that moment is or what that moment would be. But this escalation of trade war fears seems to be really rattling the market. And I feel that this has been one of the reasons why Bitcoin has thrived since its inception. People have been looking for a way to sidestep the conventional markets, and it's entered the cryptocurrency space, especially over the last year, in such a big way. And I don't think it's stopping here. But to talk about this more in greater detail with us today, I have Sommer Sherwood on the line with me, a brand new guest, cryptocurrency enthusiast, co-founder of the Decentralized Art Shows. She's also the social media and community manager for Crypto's News. Of course, Omar Bam has been on the show multiple times, and I've ran into Sommer multiple times at conferences, and we are going to get into some good info here today. Sommer, thanks for coming on Crush the Street with me.
Hey, Kenneth, thanks so much for having me on. I really do appreciate your time, and I appreciate the invite to come on the show.
And I just want to add, her website is the decentralizedartshows.com. We'll have the links in the description area. And of course, Sommer, thanks for coming on and making the time for us here at Crush. So let's get into it. Canada and their stance on Bitcoin. Canadians can now buy Bitcoin with a credit card on an app. Mogo is making this possible. And my question for you is this further endorsement that Bitcoin is continuing to build out infrastructure? And is it in it to win it, especially in this correction phase that we're seeing in 2018?
So you're saying, is it an endorsement for Bitcoin? I mean, I guess it would be further evidence in my mind of the manipulation that's been going on from, a geopolitical standpoint and a centralized government viewpoint. They do aim to get in the market as best they can, and so any attempt to to target the audience in such a way, I definitely think that is going to have an effect. And so, yeah, for sure.
So, I guess what I was seeing in terms of this article was Canada specifically being open to cryptocurrencies and allowing their people to get in and use it. I know a lot of governments are concerned with cryptocurrencies, but Canada specifically is very heavily tied to the resource sector, gold and silver. And I tend to believe Bitcoin is an extension of that. And I believe Canada is going to be one of those countries which might be a safe haven for Bitcoin going forward here. And I guess, is this just confirmation that we are going to see Bitcoin around, and it's not just like this thing that's going to go away like so many people have predicted, like Peter Schiff, for instance?
Yeah, Bitcoin's died 101 times now, right?
Yes.
No, I mean, I'm definitely a Bitcoin believer and a crypto enthusiast, and I definitely, obviously not investment advice or anything like that. I'm not an expert, but in my personal opinion, I do believe that the decentralized communities are going to thrive, and they are going to be the future. And the future is really now. And the funny thing is that you said that Canada was allowing their citizens to get involved, and that just is a key point to me, because we don't need permission. That's like the best part about it. We don't need them to allow us, we don't need permission to use Bitcoin. It's permissionless. It's global. So Canada specifically, although I think they did learn a little something when Andreas, went to the embassy. I love that, when he schooled them, Andreas Antonopoulos. And I think that there are people, that can see the bigger picture. But in terms of any particular government or country being like a leader and and allowing their citizens and being open, I don't necessarily see it as that. I think that that is them even saying that is just perpetrating this manipulated state that we're in, because again, we don't need permission. And so I just feel like people shouldn't have to abide by those thoughts as far as getting permission to use Bitcoin. That's just not how it is. We can use it right now. We don't need permission from anybody.
Yeah.
It's always
Absolutely.
nice
No,
not targeting you or whatever. But on the other hand, I just feel like maybe it could be an opportunity for them to abuse that system, to surveil us and to, target us individually. Like, for example, if we're this app, I guess the Mogo crypto, I did, just a little quick research on the website, and it's, a credit card on an app. And so you're providing a lot of personal information, and they're selling that data. Like, they're collecting all of this data and they're selling it, and they're profiting immensely off of your data, and not compensating you. And then not only that, there's third parties that are involved that are going to be accessing that data, and your, privacy and security is compromised, and those things are not really, mentioned there. If you read the terms of service, of course, but it's not the focus, obviously. And so those things concern me when it comes to open regulation, let's say.
Sure.
I just have concerns in that area. But yeah, it's definitely nice that they're not, publicly attacking, I guess as some other countries have. But I think that there's some sinister underlyings there that, we should just be aware of.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I guess in my head, I'm conflicted because on one hand, it's nice to have more mainstream adoption for cryptocurrency. And, we saw that with Coinbase being the largest platform and basically the reason for Bitcoin doing what it did and going mainstream. They were responsible for really taking it to the masses in many ways. But at the same time, many people gave up a ton of privacy in the process of doing that. And it's kind of a double-edged sword because it's nice to have the mainstream adoption, but not in a way where, we're all giving up our privacy in the process.
Absolutely. And another thing that comes to mind is mainstream. When we say mainstream, like the people on Coinbase, like they're not mainstream. Like, to me, that's not majority. That's not mainstream. Those are, a small, tiny percentage of the world's population. And not only that, but they're not necessarily the first group that comes to my mind as people that would actually need this type of decentralized currency. I'm thinking of the billions of unbanked people that don't even have access to the traditional Coinbase, or even the financial systems that you and I have available to us. To me, that's the actual majority, and those are the actual mainstream people that I would think that that I think of, and that I'm hoping to target with our outreach programs. And so I just kind of want to change the thought process a little bit, or at least ask, have people take a pause and ask, when you say mainstream, well, what do you really mean? And then, like you said, when people are signing on to Coinbase, yes, it was a convenient, easy way, but Bitcoin is not easy and convenient right now. It's very experimental. It's very speculative. It's very, very, very new in its technology. And so with the amount of FUD and the amount of manipulation and misinformation that is, surrounding us, I think it's pretty dangerous to portray Bitcoin as something that can be done on Coinbase. Like, Bitcoin is not designed to be centralized, so you might as well have it in a bank. And like you said, there was a lot of consequences, negative consequences, losing your privacy, and then this thing with the IRS, and it's just a whole bunch of negative side effects that come from the ease and convenience of something like Coinbase. So I just, and this is something that I've just come to realize, after spending time in the market, and things that my dad taught me growing up. Just he wasn't from the United States, so he kind of had a different viewpoint, and the world is just so much bigger than I've seen. And so, yeah, I think that we kind of need to change the narrative a little bit when it comes to mainstream. What is really mainstream?
I love that. I love that out of the box thinking. So Sommer, current environment with cryptocurrency, are you hodling or are you panicking? Is it, is there a reason that gives you hope for Bitcoin going to 100,000, let's say, or Trace Mayer thinks it can go to multiple millions? Where is your money right now? How are you hedged, or how are you exposed to this current trend?
Yeah, like I have not really had a job or a fiat source of income for a while now. I just feel like there's so many opportunities in the Bitcoin and crypto space to enter as a service provider or as a business, an entrepreneur. And so I've always tried to pursue those, like you said, out of the box methods or ways. So just by connecting with the community and providing a service of value, I was able to earn cryptocurrency and Bitcoin. And so that's kind of what I'm excited about sharing with people and teaching other, ways and introducing new ways to actually enter the market as opposed to on a like a Coinbase or taking your fiat and cashing out or something like that. I just think that there's other ways, but I'm definitely a big supporter of all decentralized currencies, hodl gang, and no, there's no need to panic. I do have concerns when I see the fluctuations in the market and the manipulation that's going on behind the scenes is obviously concerning, but definitely no panic. And I just always want to encourage people, learn, don't trade, just take things slow and do your due diligence, research. Don't just trust what people say. Like don't listen to anything I say or what anybody says. Like do your own due diligence and question things. And so I think that's really important for people when they're thinking about investing or entering a market, any type of investment market, and especially something as volatile and manipulated and new as Bitcoin and crypto for sure.
So let's talk about Ethereum. There was 3.7 billion raised in ICO offerings in 2017. The bulk of that was in Ethereum. And as new ventures and products get strapped for cash, a lot of these are failing. And my question is, does this perpetuate Ethereum sell-off as a lot of these companies raised Ethereum to fund their projects? And as they continue to, I guess, run out of money, they continue to sell Ethereum in this down market. And does it continue to perpetuate an Ether sell-off? And one of the statistics I'd point you towards is 46% of all ICOs in 2017 either flopped at the funding stage or have gone out of business since its launch. And that's basically been Ethereum's use case. And now that we're correcting, you got to wonder if this bear market could get even more brutal, especially for Ethereum.
Totally. I mean, it's possible that it could be a lot worse, a lot worse or a lot better than it is now. And I think it all depends on the actual use cases. And you mentioned 46%. Does that include like all of the ones that don't have an MVP before they actually raise the funds? Because it sounds like a super low number to me. I'm straining my mind to think of actual, projects that have launched. I can think of, a few, and there's ones that I always have hope for, but it's very evident to me that the main use cases, ICOs, and with the regulations that are coming and with the FUD and manipulation that's circling around, I can't imagine it going, going on forever. I like Ethereum Classic though. No backseas.
Well, okay, so let's talk about blockchain application. And you've been passionate about bringing this to artists and especially the decentralized art world. And my question to you is, why is this important? And why were you so passionate about this?
Well, I wasn't initially passionate about art. I could say when I got into this decentralized art shows about a year ago, I didn't really appreciate art. I wasn't, familiar with it. It wasn't until I actually saw some amazing artwork that I don't know, I just fell in love with it. But what attracted me to that industry as a whole is just forward thinking. I believe that with the way that AI and machine learning is developing at the rate that it's developing now, in the next few years, the job market is not going to look at all the same. So the jobs that people are doing now, anything that's routine or rote, I don't see that being around for that much longer. And with that thought in mind, I said, okay, well, if we're building the future, what are the areas that are going to be around and that we can support? And obviously creatives, anything that's artistic or creative, I felt like that was a great place to start. And so that's why, I thought it was a good match to do these art shows, and then we just ended up falling in love with the art. But I think that that's really important to focus on the creative, anything that you're building that extends to developers as well, coders, and anybody that's building on the blockchain or building decentralized applications. Like those are the areas that I think is important to focus on when you're targeting like new users and things like that.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. And you were telling me before the interview here that this was an opportunity for people to be exposed to cryptocurrency or just different forms of cryptocurrencies in the art space. And you're literally evangelizing the use cases for crypto. Now, let's talk about the decentralized value for artists in blockchain. Like, why is this important for artists to have work, or buyers of art to have the work on the blockchain?
Well, I think that from an artistic perspective or a creative perspective, I think it's underappreciated and undervalued, and that's just coming from somebody who underappreciated and undervalued it for some time, until I had that experience. And so I think that considering that it's going to be around, for as long as humans are around, we're going to be creating, we're going to be thinking, we're going to be building things. For us to ignore that like innate part of our society would just be tragic and unforgivable. Truly, I feel like it's so important to support and evolve in a creative way, and so that's just kind of where I'm coming from, that particular aspect. And so in order to support support them, encourage them, you want to make sure that their work is appreciated, their time is valued. And when it comes to provenance of art, it's very difficult sometimes to track an art piece or to check the validity of the artwork. And so technology like the blockchain, with projects like All Public Art, they're bringing that ability to track the art actually on the blockchain, which I think is really amazing. They're pioneering things that we're going to need for the future in order to support the decentralized ecosystem. So I think that's really important. And so I'm excited to see what the future holds for that project for sure.
Yeah, no, that is a very cool thing. So Sommer, what are your general thoughts here as we go forward in 2018? Thoughts on Bitcoin, thoughts on the community? Are you as optimistic as you were, when you first got involved with cryptocurrency?
Man, I'm so much more so at this point, because it's I've actually been able to see, we've made so much progress, Kenneth. Like, think about it. Think a year or two ago, the tools and the systems and the resources that we have available today, even though they're nowhere near, how they could be, though they weren't around a year or two ago. Like, we've made so much progress. The community has grown immensely. And just think about the wealth that has been created from these investments in the last few years. People literally became millionaires overnight and billionaires now. And I think that that is so important because, I'm confident that people that had these blessings were not, they are giving back. And so that wealth is being reinvested in the community. And as I see that happening in places like Puerto Rico with Brock Pierce and just different, examples like that, I think that we are definitely making progress. Another project that I'm excited about that has me even more optimistic or more confident that we are going to be around is things like Zencash and Rob Biglione with the seasetting project that he's actually leading and heading up a whole ecosystem that's outside of traditional centralized government and jurisdiction. And we're building an actual economy of people that need the tools and services that we have to offer. Like, Zencash has a mobile wallet now. Like, on my Android phone, like, artists can buy and receive payment for their art with this mobile wallet. A year ago, we didn't have that, and like, things are possible now that weren't a year or two ago. And so I can't even begin to tell you how excited I am to keep building this future with us.
That is so cool. Yeah, and actually an interview, it reminded me of is the one that Omar of Crypto's News did with Jeff Berwick. And Jeff was talking about an Anarchapulco, all the people who attended actually had money this year, as opposed to maybe a few years ago, people who were more libertarian minded, freedom minded, were in general, in many cases, broke and just with ideas and passion. But now, these ideas have a little more financial capital behind them, which is exciting because that's how things tend to get done in the real world. So that is very exciting, and and I'm glad that you're able to do what you're doing and live your passion. So, Summer, if you would let everyone know what they can find and what they can learn if they visit your website and get more information on what you're doing.
Yeah, kind of. I appreciate it. You're really doing your thing as well. I see you out there in the community. I see you doing these interviews and getting out there on social media. It's a hard thing to do, and so I just want to recognize that and shout you out for that because it's important for the community. And so I respect and honor you for that. And sure, anybody can feel free to connect with me. I'm also a crypto correspondent for Decentralized TV. And so I'm pretty active on the Bitcoin.pub, which is a cryptocurrency community forum. And the founders of this forum, Peter and John Saddington, are literally building some crazy, crazy, amazing tools and platforms for the cryptocurrency ecosystem. So if you don't know about these apps that they're building, Crypto Yum, Coin Puffs, and now Yen.io, you have to get on the ball and see and participate in this community. So I'm very active there. Of course, people know me from Crypto's News as well. Omar and El, we're on Facebook, and we do have a decentralized art shows website and a meetup app. We have over 1,000 people on the meetup group now, so we do communicate on there. We do some giveaways, and we try to engage the community. So yeah, I'd love to hear from anybody who wants to participate in the shows in any capacity, or just want to connect and learn more about the economy. I'd be happy to connect with anybody. I'm excited.
Awesome. Thank you, Summer, for coming on Crush.
Thank you again, Kenneth. Thanks so much.